Mashtad. Okay. We don't believe it in such, but the scholars and the scientists of this world, they know that what the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is true. And in fact, most of them read the Holy Quran. And as you're going to learn, the chapter 18 of the Holy Quran is entitled The Cave. And it talks about the Caucasian and his cave history. Now, I find it a pleasant surprise that this part of the timeline of the original man is about chapter 18, or is entitled part 18. So we're going to get into this teaching, but again, his story is not our story. Our story is sheer truth. His story is truths mixed with falsehood. And that's what we're going to be dealing with today, the liar and his lies. Truth mixed with falsehood. Now, my wife is going to read the 6,000-year timeline of Mr. Yaqub.
Before I get into a message to the black man. Okay, it reads, 600 years ago, Yaqub, an original black man. 6,000 years ago, Yaqub, an original black man and scientist, drafted from the black man, the white man. His idea was to make a people to rule over the original people for 6,000 years, using a system of lies and tricks. It took 600 years utilizing a birth control process to produce the white race. This took place on the island of Patmos, Pelan, in the Aegean Sea. After that time, the white men came into the Holy Land. They began making mischief, telling lies, causing the original people to argue and fight one another.
Okay.
We rounded up all the troublemakers we could find. We marched them 2,200 miles across the Arabian desert. We exiled them in the hills and caves of Europe.
Now, at the bottom it has the black, the brown, the yellow, and then the white. The black man is the original man. Yaqub's desire was to separate the black from the brown. But in making of the devil, it took 200 years to come up with all brown people. And after that, the brown, which is the Japanese, would sit on the island of Japan. It took 200 more years to come up with what is called the yellow man. And the yellow man after that was sent to China. Then that last stage of 200 years, which makes it 600 years in the making of the devil, was the coming up of the weaker side of ourselves. The last part that has no originality in it, and that's the Caucasian. In fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan says, as it says in the book Message to the Black Man, that a devil is any germ grafted from original. That's devil. And with all due respect, if you don't think that that's what it is, then just look at what they done did to us since we've been here amongst them. Go watch your news and how we are turning on one another. This man has made us, black people in America, all up into himself. And that's why Allah came in the person, so that he can teach the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and his job would be to tell us to accept our own.
That's right.
And learn through the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to be ourselves. Now, he mentioned here's Mecca. That's where Yaqub was born at, 20 miles outside of Mecca. Then here's the island of Patmos. Then here's the Caucasus Mountains. We're going to be dealing with all of that. But right now, my wife is going to read from Message to the Black Man. But I like to say this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with this teaching, is going to take you from things you know into things you may not know. But if you want to know more, you got to get the book and read it
That's
for
right.
yourself. The Making of Devil.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Okay, Message to the Black Man by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'll be reading The Making of Devil on page 103. And it reads, "You have learned from the reading of history that a nation's permanent success depends on its obedience to Allah.
Mm.
We have seen the white race devils in heaven amongst the righteous, causing trouble, making mischief and causing bloodshed, until they were discovered."
Heaven is the holy city of Mecca in Arabia. Read on.
"They made trouble for 6 months, right in heaven, deceiving the ancient original people who were holy. But when they learned just who was causing the trouble, they, as you have learned, cast the troublemakers out into the worst and poorest part of the planet Earth."
So they being in the holy city and when making trouble amongst the righteous. Now the messenger is telling us what happened after they were made. He's going to get into it later in the reading of how they were made. But he's telling you what caused them to be exiled into the hills and caves sides of Europe for making trouble amongst the righteous people in heaven.
That's
Yes.
right. They were punished by being deprived of divine guidance for 2,000 years, which brought them almost into the family of wild beasts, going upon all fours, eating raw and unseasoned, uncooked food,
Yes, yes,
living
yes.
in caves and treetops, climbing and jumping from one tree to the other.
Climbing and jumping from one tree to the other.
Even today, they like climbing and jumping. The monkeys,
Go on. I can't help but think about these Caucasians that love climbing rocks.
Oh, yes.
I mean, what man in his right mind want to risk his life climbing some rocks? I mean, they just prove what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about their nature, toying with death all the time.
that's right. The monkeys are from them. Before their time, there was no such thing as monkeys, apes, and swine.
We're going to get into it.
Read the Holy Quran, chapter 18, entitled The Cave.
Entitled The Cave.
The Holy Quran mentions them as being turned into apes and swine as a divine curse because of their disbelief in Moses. We do not know, we do know that both of these animals are loved and befriended by the white race.
Come on, think about it.
along with the dog.
Along with the dog.
But all of the divine curses sent upon the white race in these days are not enough to serve as a warning to that race.
To that race.
They rose up from the caves and hillsides of Europe, went back to Asia, and have ruled 9/10 of that great continent. Muhammad set the devils back for 1,000 years. They were released on the coming of Columbus.
Muhammad set the devil back by 1,000 years, then they were released by the coming of Columbus. Of course, that Muhammad took place setting them back during the Crusades War, and they were bottled up, and then we sent them half original man, Columbus. Okay, read on. We'll get into Muhammad and Columbus during their timeline of the original man. Please read.
They were released on the coming of Columbus and his finding of this Western Hemisphere. They have been here now over 400 years. Their worst and most unpardonable sins were the bringing of the so-called Negroes here to do their labor.
Unpardonable sin.
That's right.
Huh?
Unpardonable.
Bringing us into slavery to do their labor. All that was done after they were grafted from the weaker side of ourselves, or we gave the weaker side of ourselves form and expression.
That's right. Page 110. The following is from the Holy Quran. And we, the devils, sought to reach heaven, but we found it filled with strong guards and flames. And we, the devils, used to sit in some of the sitting places thereof to steal a hearing. But he who tries to listen now finds a flame lying in wait for him. Holy Quran 72, 8 and 9.
When they were bottled up in Europe, we had guards with swords to take the head off of anyone that would try to come across the border, coming back down into Arabia. And then nowadays, they try to steal a hearing from God. You see them using all of their contraptions and their satellites. They're trying to steal a hearing from God and what he planned to do in the reestablishment of his kingdom on
That's
earth.
right.
Please
That's right.
read.
I am for the separation of my people from their enemies, that they share not in the enemy's destruction, even though I may lose my own life in this daring attempt to save them. Sorry. Okay. I am for the separation of my people from their enemies, that they share not in the enemy's destruction, even though I may lose my own life in this daring attempt to save them.
Now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling us how valuable we are in the eyesight of God.
That's right.
That he's going to risk his life, to teach us this teaching or die in the attempt.
That's
Right.
right.
But Allah is going to make his truth known though the polytheists be adverse. And the same applies to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And if you are going to follow them, then you too have to have what it takes to confront this beast and raise our people on a perpendicular, straight
Yes.
on the path of Allah.
That's right. So he said in his daring attempt to save them by the plain, simple truth
By the plain,
of
simple
God
truth.
and power.
That's our story.
That's right.
Truth, God, and power.
That's right. It must be done and will be done regardless of whom or what.
Yes.
It can be done in one day, but Allah desires to make himself known in the West, as it is written of him.
Yes.
Our 66 trillion years from the moon has proven a great and wide show of the original power to build wonders in the heavens and earth. 6,000 years ago, or to be more exact, 6,600 years ago, as Allah taught me, our nation gave birth to another God whose name was Yaqub.
66 trillion years ago. Here we go. The deportation of the moon. All right?
That's right.
The first dissatisfied scientist. He desired to destroy the earth, but only put a moon out there. We compensated for that with mountains and caused stability to come back to the earth, and now it serves as a creation from us to help keep the water from drowning out the earth. Now 6,000 years from this day, Mr. Yaqub was born. So with that, you really have the 66 and then the 6,000. That's count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. 666. Yaqub fulfills that dissatisfaction with doing right by making or grafting from us the weaker side of ourselves and again giving it form and expression.
That's right.
Please read.
He started studying the life germ of man to try making a new creation, a new man, whom our 24 scientists had foretold 8,400 years before the birth of Mr. Yaqub. And the scientists were aware of his birth and worked
Go on.
with his birth and worked before he was born, as they are today of the intentions or ideas of the present world.
Okay, the scientists knew of Mr. Yaqub's birth. In fact, these scientists write the history to last for approximately every 25,000 years. So, they wrote it in our story, not his story. rewrite history in advance.
That's right.
And Yakub made his presence known 6,000 years ago to do what he had to do. And that's to make the weaker side of ourselves known. Sorry about that notification again.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Go on.
Okay. Okay. It says, according to the word of Allah to me, Miss Yakub was seen by the 23 scientists of the black nation over 15,000 years ago. They predicted that in the year 8,400, that was in our calendar year, before this world of the white race, this man Yakub would be born 20 miles from the present holy city Mecca, Arabia.
20 miles from the present holy city of Mecca. Now, when you read the book of Revelations, you're reading what Mr. Yakub told his people that they would have to expect at the end of their time. You're reading the book of the book of Revelations, which is John the Revelator. To those of you that may not know, John the Revelator is Mr. Yakub himself, telling his made man what to expect in the end of their time.
That's right.
Read on.
Okay, it says, and that at the time of his birth, the satisfaction and dissatisfaction of the people would be 70% satisfied, 30% dissatisfied.
70% satisfied, 30% dissatisfied. Allah, in his infinite wisdom, would not allow dissatisfaction to even equal up to the satisfaction of doing right. So he gave birth to Mr. Yakub at 30% dissatisfaction with doing what was right.
That's right. And that when this man is born, he will change civilization, the world, and produce a new race of people who will rule the original black nation for 6,000 years. From the 9,000th year to the 15,000th year. After that
now
time,
we are in 9,000 year to the 15,000 year. We are in the 15,000 year of a 25,000 year cycle. Yakub was born 8,400 years ago. Read on.
after that time, the original black nation will give birth to one whose wisdom, knowledge, and power would be infinite. One whom the world will recognize as being the greatest and mightiest God.
Oh,
Since the creation of the universe.
yes.
And that he would destroy Yakub's world and restore the original nation or ancient nation into power to rule forever.
Forever.
This mighty one is known under many names.
Now I really want you to listen to the description that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about this mighty one.
That's right.
Come on with it,
It
sister.
says,
Come on,
he
baby.
has no equal.
He has no equal.
There never was one like him. He is referred to in the Bible as God Almighty. And in some places as Jehovah,
Yes.
the God of gods and the Lord of lords. The Holy Quran refers to him as Allah, the one God.
Come on.
Besides him, there is no God, and there is none like him.
Like him.
The supreme being, the mighty, the wise, the best knower, the light.
Come on, dear Holy Apostle.
The
Teach.
life giver.
Yes.
The Mahdi. This is he whom I have met.
Yes.
And am missioned by.
And our mission by.
That's right.
Face to face, Elijah Muhammad received his mission, the messenger of Allah, and now the exalted Christ,
Yes.
the one that was given power after taking the book out of the right hand of him that sits up on the throne.
Yes,
Yakub
that's
saw it coming. That's in the book of Revelation. The Lamb.
Yes.
Read on.
He also is referred to as the Christ, the second Jesus, the Son of Man, who is wise and is all powerful.
All power.
He knows how to produce the universe and the people of his choice. He will remove and destroy the present old warring wicked world
Old
of
warring.
Yakub.
Old, warring, wicked world. I mean, is
Yeah.
that not the description of the present day in time? The old, warring, wicked world.
Yes.
I mean, and that's why that board that we had in the first entitled, which
Yes.
one will survive the war of Army Gedum? Armies gathering for the doom.
That's
Oh,
right.
time for a change, people. Time for a change.
Okay, which is Yakub's his world, the Caucasian world.
The
And
Caucasian
he will
world.
set up a world of peace,
Peace.
and righteousness
Yes.
out of the present so-called Negroes who are rejected and despised by this world.
Wow.
Miss Yakub was naturally born out of 30% dissatisfied,
That is.
as we know. However, there is a longing or demand for a change. Nature will produce that man
That's right.
who will bring it about. Allah taught me that the present percentage of dissatisfaction is 98%,
98%.
near 100%, with the present ruling powers. This 100% dissatisfied will bring about a 100% change.
Now here, it takes us back to the original man. Know thyself. 50,000 years ago, two stars appeared that represented a universal change. Shabazz went down. But we are here and we are dealing with the criteria. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the criterion that he did July 4th, 2020, he established himself as the criteria, the standard by which all of humanity is going to be judged, because he, like Shabazz, represent a universal change, with those two stars being present in the skies today.
That's
A
right.
universal change, a new ruler. And that one that God has chose to represent him and his Christ is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It said that Dr. Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan, I'm going to make you my trumpet. Huh? And then he said that God made me his mouthpiece. You can't blow a trumpet without a mouthpiece. And that's why the final call is so key. You should not miss an issue of reading that newspaper or that journal, that truth, that gospel that comes straight from the mind of the man that God got amongst us as his representation in this dispensation in time.
That's right.
Come on with it, sister, baby.
Yakub did not bring about 100% change, but near 90%. Allah said when Yakub was 6 years old, one day he was sitting down playing with two pieces of steel.
Okay, now mind you, he said when Yakub was 6 years old. Now, some of us might have babies at 6 years old. Now, I want you to kind of think about your child coming to you, telling you what Yakub told his uncle. Read on, read on, baby.
He noticed the magnetic power in the steel attracting the other. He looked up at his uncle and said, Uncle, when I get to be an old man, I am going to make a people who shall rule you. The uncle said, What will you make? Something to make mischief and cause the shedding of blood in the land?
Come on.
Yakub said, Nevertheless, Uncle, I know that which you do not know.
Born Yakub with a determined idea, and told his uncle, 6 years old, I know what you know not. Come on.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And it was at that moment the boy Yakub first came into the knowledge of just who he was. Born to make trouble, break peace, kill and destroy his own people with a made enemy to the black nation.
Now just think, what if Yakub had not did what he did with making grafting from us the weaker side of ourselves? Can you imagine what it would be like in this dispensation in time where that 30% would have reached maybe half on up to 75? We wouldn't stand a chance. And that's what make God the best knower of all.
Yeah.
Because he knew he had to get this out of us. In other words, he had to get it out of himself. He saw it 66 trillion years ago, and he knew it had to go.
Had to go.
It had to be brought out in given form and expression. So that we, in this dispensation of time, with the coming of Allah and the person of Master Farad Muhammad, we will have a moral compass.
That's right.
We will have an original consciousness of the knowledge of self. That we don't have to be snared by that inclination anymore to do wrong. That's why, I mean, Yaqub took his on an island. Well, guess what? We here in America, America's an island too.
That's right.
But we're going to learn to master this weaker part of ourselves while being here, right here among this beast.
That's right.
Huh? Master it. Come on, baby.
He learned his future from playing with steel. It is steel and more steel that has made that his, it is steel and more steel that his made race, the white race, are still playing with.
Still playing with.
Still playing with. Steel has become the most useful of all metal for the people. What he really saw in playing with the two pieces of steel was a magnetic power of attraction.
The magnetic power of attraction.
That's right.
Yes.
The one attracting and drawing the other under its power. In this, he saw an unlike human being, made to attract others, who could, with the knowledge of tricks and lies, rule the original black man.
Come on.
Until that nation could produce one greater, capable of overcoming and making manifest his race of tricks and lies with a nation